Going to try it again, folks. I wonder how many people tune in this and think it's the same Kyroots being read all the time. Not only do I not want to think about it, because then that makes me think, how many of you think, wait a minute, that's a batch from last week. He just... And Kyroots said, first request for page 7, for those of you taking absolutely useless notes. I don't mean your notes are, but if you would take down something like, well, it's page 7. And Kyroots said, history only impresses the dead, a whole bunch of dots, and those partially so. Rather than just history, by the way, if I may speak for Kyroots, we could talk about any interest in the past. And then you could take that on the surface as being yet another cheap shot, or a shot at history, to say that history only impresses the dead, because then you could even, at some real low level, think that we're being metaphorical again, and that history only impresses people that don't amount to anything anyway, because according to some reports, the dead, except for political purposes in Chicago, don't amount to much. So if you want to take that metaphorically for a second, you could say, all right, it's only dead people. Take dead people that from the ordinary view are of no consequence anymore. And then you can say, all right, history only impresses people of no consequence. History only impresses the dead, which sounds right except for this. The living, at the ordinary level, would not be alive were it not for history. Not here. And so at times, I'm sure some people who might watch this accidentally on cable a few times could think that there has been shots taken aplenty at the past. At even thinking individually about the past, much less history, but to individually worry about what happened to you. Every complaint you ever had, all the way from your child being wounded when it was little and crawled inside of you, or however that works, all the way... all the way to somebody having cheated you at one time. Or, not only on the negative side, for you to worry, or for you to still be telling war stories about, listen, I have not always been in the poor condition you see me now. At one time, I won an award. It is not simply, which includes that from a more complex view, it's not simply taking some reasonable or psychological, in a pathological way, I guess, or a more biffic way, to say, well, it doesn't do anybody any good to keep bringing up the past to, what do they say, to live in the past. But the living at the ordinary level could not live were it not for the past. Now back to page 7. History, according to Kyroots, only impresses the dead, and those partially so. May I speak for Kyroots and leave it to say that if the past impresses you, you're at least partially dead here. At the ordinary level, you are alive, because at the ordinary level, you couldn't be alive did you not have some past to lean on. The collective history of man, if you want to look at history as being the collective version of the individual memory, at that level, not only everybody out there, but you wouldn't even gotten here. Did you not depend on the past? That is what makes people alive here at the ordinary level. But if you aspire to get anywhere beyond the ordinary level, then this is no longer a help. It seems impossible to get away from it, I guess. But so what? You don't have to talk about it. There was a Kyroots that Kyroots never wrote. It was a long story about somebody that got to listening to some of this stuff, and I think Kyroots said something about, like I just said, which I may have stolen it from him, that was pointing out, well, you don't have to keep thinking about what goes on, that's only at the ordinary level. And then Kyroots told the person, of course, the ordinary level, it's almost impossible not to do that, and you can't really get up in the morning and get by in life without doing it. And the person says, well, if you can't do it, then what's the point of this? And then Kyroots said something like, well, just because you can't do it doesn't mean anything. And the person thought, well, it means a lot. But see, and then Kyroots said, all right, you don't have to talk about it. And the guy thought about it. And then Kyroot came in for the coup de grace. Those of you in Alabama. And the person almost admitted by their silence that when he said, you don't have to talk about it, and the person went. And then Kyroots almost said, and if you can do that, you don't have to think about it. And the person said, well, I knew you'd take it too far. Don't forget, there are a million stories in the Naked City, and all of them just about the same thing. Real exciting and fascinating. That's why they have to keep coming up with new shows for the TV season. You didn't get that? That's why they have to keep writing new books and new movies. Because if you're just an ordinary person, you kept going down the street to the movie, and let's say that they pull the kind of stuff that they do on some cheap cable shows, that they keep doing the same show and make it sound like it's a different one. But you went down there and not being some run-of-the-mill fool, after they'd shown you the same movie, let's say 2 or 3 months, you'd finally catch on. And what would you demand? I want a new movie. So they have to do it. You see? And the person in the story went, I told you you'd take it too far. I just knew you would. All right. And Kyroots said, page 9. Taking the affairs of man, the ordinary affairs of man, seriously can save you from otherwise additional irritants. If it means anything, I'm somewhat surprised anybody asked for that. But think about it. Now, ordinary people, as you were pointing out to me last time we met, ordinary people would very likely acquiesce to describing life in a one-word word. I bet they would go along with troublesome. Or what is life full of? And don't say that. They'd say problems. Irritations. Just irritations after irritation. But, as all great philosophers sometimes think in the bathroom alone, it could be worse. But then those who are well-read at all realize that many people have already said that, and so you're not going to get probably yourself in a Bartlett's by repeating it. Unless, of course, you care to be a canned pear and all that. So, ordinary people, how would they be impressed at all? How would you even get their attention if you said there are additional irritations possible in life? I mean, do you expect people going to line up to hear about it? The ordinary person is going to say, I've got enough. But now, this Kyroots is silly or strange or vague as it may sound. Notice, one more time. Taking the ordinary affairs of man seriously can save you from otherwise additional irritants. Kinds of maps we've been trying to verbally draw. What if, for the sake of speculation, that we assume that the ordinary affairs of man, other than being deadly serious to ordinary man, are a joke, are unnecessary, they're funny. The ordinary affairs of man, the secondary world of man, literally could be dispensed with and a man still live. Any doubts, of course, check your neighborhood local coma station. And you'll find people in that condition. But if you took people not in a coma, if you just looked at the secondary world of man, if you could do it just you and I talking, just for speculation, no hostility, we're not here criticizing, but if you could simply see in a non-polar based, in a totally useless manner from the ordinary level, that you simply saw that everything from religion to politics, everything but staying alive, everything else is sort of funny. Of course, an ordinary person saw that, they wouldn't think it was funny worth a goddamn. I wouldn't want to be around if an ordinary person saw that, because I know that science does not believe in what they call it, spontaneous combustion of humans. But you wouldn't want to be around if somebody realized that accidentally. But if you take the ordinary affairs seriously, according to this Kyroots, it will save you from otherwise additional irritants. The implication being that if, in some way, and we're twisting it around greatly, but if an ordinary person could be ordinary and at the same time not be completely ordinary. So if an ordinary person Saying there one ordinary foot, and you were saying, oh, life is just irritation. I mean, it's just one thing after another. And if you said something like, it could be worse, and they said, well, I don't even want to hear about it. I got my hands full now. What if you said, but how about a whole bunch of those things that irritate you in life? Some of them are kind of silly. You don't have to put up with it. You could get by without being irritated about this thing. I mean, the news irritates you, I notice. You could, how about this? You could unplug your TV. You could refuse to listen to the news. Just, I'm not saying do it, but you could. And if you didn't know what the news was, that's one thing that could no longer irritate you. The first one would go, well, yeah, but, Jesus. The Kyroot is saying that by taking the ordinary irritations, by living with the sins and boils and warts and afflictions that you know, regardless of how unsavory they may seem, Kyroot's insinuating that indeed, and Kyroot doesn't fool around with the word indeed, that indeed it could be voice. That if you didn't take the imaginary slings and afflictions that are now present, that can be simultaneously, though, seen as being, well, that's ridiculous. But if you didn't take the ridiculous as being serious, Kyroot's saying it could be worse. Not that the irritations could be worse, but what you see could be worse. If you're ordinary. If you're not ordinary, you're not really going to explode. Well, you might want to, you'll wish that there was a God so you go punch him in the mouth or something. I just said that. You'd probably want to go buy him a drink and then punch him in the mouth. That's just a joke. I don't. One man discovered that the universe existed in his head, in his mind. Nah, he adds, I don't mean in some crappy metaphorical manner. Nobody likes that. Well, you do know. You people read, or used to read that kind of stuff. 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. Oh, all right. By 1952. Several thousand years ago, people are already saying the universe does not actually exist out there. It's in your mind. Reality is here, but even the whole universe is really in your own mind. So see, Kyroot kind of set you up. As this one guy discovered the universe was in his own head. And any good card-carrying metaphysician in the audience should have thought, Jesus, boy, where in the hell did he dig up that old chestnut? But then Kyroot said, hey, I don't mean some kind of crappy allegorical way. That's for those of you who might be out there and have some kind of passing sensation that, hey, this is not as crazy as I thought it was. One man said, hi, I can be nice if I want to, and life said, hi, so can I. But the ever popular addendum says, if life could talk out loud, what most people would say in response thereto is, would you please shut up? That, Kyroot's calling it life, but if we were playing with children, ordinary people, what they'd want to call God, just think about it. People have spent large sums of money, taken trips, wrapped themselves up in sheets. Done things I just don't want to go into. Starved themselves, stuffed themselves, trying to get life to talk to them. And Kyroot has the audacity, being as hot as he probably was when he wrote it, that he's saying that if life could talk out loud, most people, if it did, all right, you want the easy way? Those in TV land, which you obviously want the easy way, you'd be here in the parking lot in the studio with us where we're filming this. If God did talk to all the people, go, oh, I'd give anything if God, or the cosmos, if the universe, but God, if he'd talk to me. May I give you a personal Cajun guarantee that if he did, this would still apply. Of course, they cannot agree to that because they already know what God would say. If you say, well, come on, you don't really know, they'd say, well, certainly I do. They know already, so that takes care of that. But, that notwithstanding, if they got their wish and what they think of as God, life talked to them very, very shortly, not much further than the body of that one down to the addendum. 4 or 5 inches later, a little while later, A little while later, after God talked to them, after all they'd done, and regardless that they say, I know exactly what he would say. I know within some parameters, that's parameters. All right, within certain parameters, I know what he would say. And that's not what he would say. Now, I'm not going to take away and say it doesn't matter, but I can guarantee you this, or Kyroots can. That's when we've got him. After he spoke, very shortly, people would go, would you please shut up? When they're that obvious, that plain, and that silly, at least it makes it so I don't have to explain anymore. Except we're not talking about God, we're talking about life. For any of you who are concerned, Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Rogers is on another station. Another station that gets a government grant. And look at the kind of stuff we got to put up with. But I got a pair of tennis shoes. Yes, but can you walk gingerly and act like a dependable, honest person? And Kyroots said, the official city physician noted. Those of you out there, may I remind you that just because something's funny doesn't mean it's necessarily a joke, because it makes you laugh. The official city physician says, in many people, viruses still respond more favorably to antibiotics than they do to love and concern. I certainly hope the faith healing lobby off other channels will not write us. But see, until I said that, they could have been watching this and they didn't even understand. But now they go, wait a minute, Martha, he's insulted us again. It's a good thing that actual medical doctors are not as fast to sue. And some of those guys with sawdust in their shoes. The correspondent writes to say, this is in response, I assume, to some things that have been said recently by Kyroots. This correspondent says, you can forget all about notions of intellectual curiosity or artistic satisfaction, for after men get sexed, they eat, they get a little rest, the only thing after that that drives them is fear. And then somebody, it's hard to tell who, invites us to join them down there on the bank singing, shall we gather at the river? And you can kick me in the... What's really weird, that's good we ran out of time, is after hearing that read already and then me being here in person, I see some connection. I guess I shouldn't admit it, but... Guy says the nature of life can't be explained. His partner says, sure it can. The guy says, well, the nature of life shouldn't be explained. His partner says, there's no reason it shouldn't. The guy says, all right, the nature of life doesn't want you to explain it. And life patted him on the back. Well, it's good. I think Kyroots just almost every night at least puts in one that has nothing to do with anything. I think it's obviously irrelevant. It's like, I guess, trying to send through some kind of faulty mode to the people on the line, you know, the quality checkers, just to see if they're on the job. And Kyroots said, the chieftain told his eldest son, men with no soul want a system to live by. I'm sure that none of the Erzat troopers out in TV land want to hear anything comment on that. Because again, it's not just faulty, it's not just silly, it is just a living example of that which is diametrically false and silly. That it's men with souls who want a system to live by. Who else would be pursuing any sort of system, be it philosophical, political, especially religious, except a man with a soul? We shouldn't encourage wagering, but nobody asked me. If it comes to it, my money's on Kyroots. Would anybody like it better? No. Instead of soul, remember the Kyroot goes, the chieftain tells his son, that men with no soul want a system to live by. Instead of soul, think of other words. Don't just be synonymous. If you think about metaphorically the soul being down here, perhaps raise your sights a little higher. Like a man with no Adam's apple? Well, maybe a little higher. A man with no nose hairs? Just a suggestion. Well, who wants to get dry? A man who's what? Well, who wants to know something? Well, now you see, you took it too far. You're getting silly. The people who want to know something are people that don't know anything. That's why they want to know something. That proves their intelligence. Unless you think about it. There was a Kyroot a few nights ago that I noticed no one requested to point out in the city what passes, or what's known as education, is their attempt to substitute quantity for quality, which has nothing to do with the educational system of humans on this planet. It's something else. But that's exactly what it is. And it is so, I don't know, you make up a word. It is so something or other to realize the fact, to hear it, which some of you did. I hate to back up, but I think they have nailed down the tire damage backup mechanism. But if you ask where I started this little thing, who wants to get dry? And you're supposed to go, well, a man who's wet, obviously. Who else? And you say, well, who wants additional information or knowledge? And you think, well, a man that is lacking in some. And then, of course, sotto voce to your old intellectual self, you'd think, which is all of us. Those of you carrying your humility card. Until you think about it. Those who do not have adequate intelligence are the ones that want to come in out of the rain. No, you mixed it up. They're the ones who want additional information. Oh, okay, now I know where I am. Until you think about this. Well, what good's additional information going to be to somebody that's stupid? Let's just be blunt about it. But then the ordinary mind says, wait a minute. Don't call them stupid. You're being crazy. That's proof they are intelligent. That they realize they're not, and they want additional intelligence. Which is A-OK in the city. If you got outside of town in your own mind somewhere and you think about that, of course, then you want to start trying to find an extraterrestrial synonym for flaw. Because it's not actually a flaw, because you realize, well, they're right. Except for a small detail. There's something that's very curious. Something is trying to ooze out under the closet door. Either that or I'm still in here and something's trying to ooze in on me and nobody else notices it. Because it all makes sense. It all fits, Martha. It fits. Only those who are wet want to be dry. Those who do not have adequate knowledge, intelligence, seek additional knowledge. And then it kind of oozes into some people's closet and you say, wait a minute. It's people who are not intelligent. By their own, they would admit it, that they're not intelligent. They're the ones that seek additional intelligence. Yes. Well, what good is additional intelligence going to do somebody that's El Stupido to begin with? But you're wrong. That shows their intelligence that they can improve themselves. Which there are several in here tonight about improvement. In fact, there's the heart of a new cosmic religion here, whether anybody requested it, along the same line. But the ordinary mind, you understand the absolute proof is that. For that shows somebody at least has the potential to be intelligent. Hell with that. Let's be real. In the city, they say it's not just potential to be intelligent. They are intelligent to realize that they need additional knowledge, additional intelligence. And that's bulletproof. Good night.